Get the roll. All right, let's get the clock, and I'm going to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Josh. And Tyler.
Here.
Jeff.
Yep.
Melissa. Here. Andrew.
Here.
Welcome, Carl. Kurt.
Do you want to have a motion to approve the agenda?
Yep.
Yes, Tyler. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Okay.
Opposed? Amendment passes. Public forum. Gail, is anyone here at public forum?
We have a request for pickle.
Okay, moving along. Announcements and celebrations.
Okay, we have so many celebrations. First of all, school has started, students arrived, wonderful things are happening in our classrooms, and we're super excited about that. In addition to that, right before school started, we had our back to school event, which was a great success. And with that comes a lot of partnerships and a lot of help in the community. So I wanted to shout out to Nat Tedesco that helped with the breakfast with the staff. I also wanted to thank our PTO. They were very helpful in providing some gift baskets, and so I'm grateful to that. And the Tigers Shop also provided a basket, so that was nice that they did that. And then our theme around our back to school event and throughout the year is the power of the we. So we're very excited to share with everyone and with the community about we're able to do our work better as a group and collectively, and through that, teachers requested could we get a t-shirt that said the power of we. They loved it so much. And Curry then home stepped up to pay for t-shirts for all staff. And so those came out a week or so ago. And so I'm grateful to their partnership as well. So with that, then that leads us into some other celebrations that were announced.
That's not right there, actually.
Yeah.
Christine, Robert did attend, Christine did an absolutely amazing job. Tyler also addressed the staff and did an amazing job. So I said it before, if you ever get a chance to look at that, it is one of the coolest events of the year. It really is a community event. It is absolutely awesome to see the energy of the staff and Christine and everybody else. So Christine, awesome.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. It was really a team effort and we had such a great response from everyone, and we invited some past employees and community members to join us, which those that were able to do that joined us as well. So it truly is an example of the power of all of us working together to make us better. So I'm grateful to all of them and to everyone for that great event. But it's hard to believe that happened, and then we kicked off the week and we had back to school night and meet the teacher night, and then kids came and it's been wonderful. So and thank you to Tyler for speaking to everyone because it was really special. So with that leads right into we have received some incredible awards right out of the gate here that I want to mention. So our middle school has Gilbert Middle School has received an award through the Association of Middle Level Education, which is a school of distinction. And this is such an exciting award because they went through a rigorous process to say, what is it that we're doing at Gilbert Middle School that highlights all the great things kids are doing to really show how hard they work. And they were honored the only school in the state of Iowa to receive this award, one of 11 schools to be honored with this distinction. And so we have a short video we are going to share that was put together by our communication department, as well as is shown on the Middle Level Education Award website. So Jason, you can take it from here.
Hi, I'm Mike Danson. I'm the principal for Gilbert Middle School. It is my pleasure to announce that we've been selected as a school of distinction by the Association for Middle Level Education. This is an award given to schools, middle schools across the country who have passed through a rigorous screening process that involves a survey of staff, a written application, sharing of data, and an interview process with students and staff, parents, and administration. We feel very fortunate to have been selected as a school of distinction by AMLE. It is a nice credit to the students and the staff of Gilbert Middle School, both current and past.
Mary Gilbert. I think there are lots of things that make our middle school in particular really great. One of the things I definitely would highlight is that I feel like we really do hold our students to a standard, and there's a rigor in our classrooms. But at the same time, we also allow our students to be individuals, and we really try and figure out how do they best learn, and we let them those unique qualities come out. A lot of what we do in the classroom far surpasses words in a textbook. We prepare them for life. We give them 21st century skills. We give those interpersonal skills that they're not necessarily going to get on page 27 in the social studies textbook. And that might be a little bit as to what makes Gilbert Middle School a little bit different from some of the other institutions that you'll see across the state of Iowa, even across this nation.
Whatever's going to be best for students. The number of times we've sat in meetings with parents and as a seventh grade team and talked through different challenges that may be going on and how can we just make that best for the student so that they can be successful. And so
and winning this award is, as most people would say, we don't get into this business if we go for awards, but it is great to be recognized. And I think the more positive things that we have happen, I think it snowballs into more positive things, and
I think the other thing that we all need to acknowledge here is that greatness, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in isolation. Sometimes you're only as great as your leader and your guidance and that vision. And one of the things I think we're incredibly lucky to have here at Gilbert Middle School is that visionary, is that leadership, and that's our principal, Mike Danielson.
Congratulations to our Gilbert Middle School and all the staff. What an exciting time to be honored with this award, a distinguished award where we're the only school in the state of Iowa that ever received this important award. We're one of 11 across the country. It is so prestigious, and it really speaks to the work that you all do every single day. You represent every student every day, and others are taking notice. Thanks for everything you do, and congratulations. So as you can
external partners, we want to protect our.
As you can see, Mr. Danielson is not here this evening because he is at the cross-country meet cheering on his letter there. So what I had shared with him as well as his staff is that I had suggested that he invite one or all of you to a staff meeting so that we can recognize their staff. So I wanted you to know that that is coming because they should be able to get that recognition. We're so grateful to them. So that's very exciting. And that's not all. And there's more. So also, I hope if you're not following us on social media, you need to, because all of these announcements come out. We're very excited for our very own teacher, Stephanie Kofke, was just named the SHAPE Iowa Elementary PE Teacher of the Year. And SHAPE stands for Society of Health and Physical Educators. And she is a leader in that area. And it is also another very exciting, prestigious award. She works here in the intermediate building and has been a leader in her area. So we'll be recognizing her and inviting her to a future meeting. So we're excited about that. Our football team is 3-0. So we're very excited about our football team. Yep, congratulations to them. And just as exciting is our cross-country boys and girls are doing phenomenal in their running that they're doing. We're very excited for them. Two more announcements is that if you didn't already hear that our Gilbert Citizen of the Year for the city of Gilbert is our very own transportation director, Trent Becker. So we're very excited about that as well. Like I said, there's just so many accolades. And then the last one I wanted to share tonight is our Gilbert High School. If you hadn't seen this, was named among the best high schools in the country, according to US News and World Report. And they are ranked in the top 3% of high schools in the state of Iowa and the top 10% of high schools across the country. Gilbert High School is listed as number 9 on the overall list of 317 high schools in the state of Iowa. So again, a wonderful recognition across the board. We have great teachers, great staff, incredible leaders, and so many wonderful things taking place. And those are just a few of the things that I wanted to celebrate tonight. That concludes my celebration report.
That is all great news. Any questions for Christine? All right, department updates. We all have the reports in front of us. Any questions for Christine or her team?
We did have a couple of them, I mean, not for tonight, but
That's
maybe
fine.
come back, but. In Trent's, he talks about potentially having a new bus route, and I was just curious what percentage of usage we actually have. In other words, those routes, I think, are laid out, assuming the students will all ride, and I'm just curious what percentage usage we have. I think that'd be good for the board to know.
I'll ask him to put that in the next report.
Yeah.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
And then Vic mentioned that the facilities use process, so that's kind of a new, I mean, actually implementation of something that was in place, but a new implementation, but that's going well with the different programs.
It is something that we can come back and maybe give a little bit longer report on that, but it is going well. I think sharing the information with the community again of what that looks like, what the process is.
Yep.
Vic and Stacey Johnson has been supporting the work on that. Have been doing a nice job communicating with families and parents of things that have come up. But it's been a good process. It's been a good reminder to people of what is the process and putting that back in place. So we definitely have something we can do as a report, perhaps at next month's meeting, just about what kind of responses are we getting and things like that. It's a good idea. We'll do that.
Anything else for department updates?
No, good job, Deb Purcell.
So,
Right?
always that.
Wow.
Isn't that great? Also, if you didn't, that was another celebration I was going to share. I can't remember the name, maybe somebody here knows. The corn shucking and donation of corn that we all did was phenomenal, and she helped facilitate that as well. So maybe when we have Jason do his update, I'll look at the name so I can give the
Sid Jensen.
That's it. Say that again. Sid Jensen, yeah. They donated all that corn, and then we all worked together, and the kids did the shucking, and then we all had corn the next day, which was phenomenal. So,
Did you guys do that in Arizona when you were there?
yeah, that never happened in Arizona, and and I will say, I believe I took some pictures and sent them to friends back in Arizona. Just another day of work, which I love so much, so. Good.
Thank you much. Safety report. We got Jason Holton and Vic Vanderpool to give us an update.
Yeah, so Vic's headed out here shortly to our city council meeting, so I've asked Jason to give us an update about how the safety piece is going.
Sure, I'd like to talk about this. I'm not going to give too many specifics, just so we don't compromise any security or safety for our students. But some items are, we have printed over 300 badges for staff. So we've implemented, everyone is wearing a staff so they can be easily identified. We're supposed to wear these at all times. Okay, so we're installing 102 security cameras in the district. We have installed 215 phones. We replaced the middle school intercom. We are replacing 400 fobs. That's just a huge number to me, how many keys, right, we have in this district. So we're replacing the fobs with a key card. And this key card will go behind the person's badge, so they'll have it with all times. Okay. We're replacing door controls to make things more secure for students. We are adding door prop sensors, so we can tell when a door is propped open, it will send us an alarm and we can schedule that by the time of day, et cetera. So with the grant that we received, once we get this completed, we'll put in for reimbursement and get $196,000 back for these
What did you
projects.
spend on all this?
What?
How much did you spend?
I wasn't prepared for that answer.
That's okay. What do you think? If you're getting 100, if you're getting 200 back, did you spend 300 or 400?
No.
The
I mean-
grant itself was we received a grant for $196,000
Yeah,
and we'll receive back $196,000.
so you spent dollar for dollar.
That's
Yeah.
right,
Oh, okay.
that's right.
And then the district went above and beyond and completed a lot more of these projects, so.
So, but all the schools now have controlled entrances, including the middle school, right?
Yes, control. So that, we didn't change any infrastructure at the high school
Right.
with walls or doors or anything, but we added, cameras up there and door controls.
Is it better?
Yes, much better.
Okay.
Was there anything else, Jason,
Nope,
related to,
that was
okay,
it.
because what I wanted to share, a couple of things is that, at my, conference superintendent meeting last week, so, there's 10 or so superintendents there. Out of who has received the money and the work that we've done for this safety grant is one, and that's Gilbert. And why is that? Because of Jason and Vic and their work with Brent and Dan and Gail to make this happen. It's a lot of work. I know that it was put out as from the state that, oh, we're giving all this money to schools for safety, but there's lots of frustration across the state that the money's not actually getting to the schools because of the amount of work that it's taking. And it's happening here in Gilbert because of the work that they've done. So,
Nice job.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I really want to recognize them and I want you all to know that these are important safety pieces that just make all of us a little more safe and helps our kids recognize, oh yeah, this is somebody who needs that I can go to for help and it's really making a big difference. So I'm very grateful to them.
Are all your cameras up and running?
No, the thing is things are running a little bit slowly because everyone is kind of doing this safety security
Okay.
initiative. So vendors and installers are stretched thin, so.
Who are we using?
So we're using Von Manen for cameras installation, and we are using Walsh doors for the door security. And we are installing some of the cameras. I know AJ installed 8 cameras today.
Okay.
So we're making that a priority to get those up and running, so.
Well, good luck. Good job. Thanks.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Jason. Really great. Really incredible. Okay. I'm gonna go into the next one. Okay, next up, in addition to safety and security, we have been doing lots of other things in the area of curriculum. But one piece that's been worked on all summer is our process for what's in our libraries. And so we have invited Lynn Reed and Carrie Clark's here to support her to share with us a little bit about the process we have in place. This is, you have a policy in our works about what do we do if we have a book that maybe a parent isn't in love with or doesn't love. And that's what Lynn's going to talk to us a little bit about all of those pieces. So welcome, Lynn.
Good evening. So when I looked at the policy, what I saw were a lot of loopholes that concerned me just from a standpoint that if we would ever have somebody look at, where they could fall into the cracks, there would be some easy ways to do it. So I updated the form and that's something that you have. So the things I took out was I took out the part where what type of book is it, a hardcover, a paperback or other? Because if a parent is protesting a title, they want all books of that title out. It doesn't matter what format it's in. I also took out the date of publication because if we're going to take out the title, that's not something that needs to be there. We also took out the multimedia material because we don't check any out. There isn't any of that in any of the libraries. We did put on there when it expires because we were trying to figure out how do you manage a request if somebody puts it in kindergarten and we have to track that for 13 years. So what we did is the form is good as long as the child is in that building. So when they transition to a new building, they'd have to do a new form. And we just thought that was going to be an easy, manageable way. We can track the kids by grade level. I'll have that on Google Sheets so that we can track that fairly easily. The other thing that we did is we put in there that it's one title per form. Because we don't want a parent or anybody else coming in and filling out one form and stapling 300 titles to the back of it. The legwork that will go with that would be enormous for us. So once these come in, then the process that I've worked with Christine and Carrie on is that once Christine has approved it, it will be given to me. I will maintain the hard copies. And then we will be putting it in a Google spreadsheet so that it can be shared with the librarians and the associates in each of the libraries, so that they have access. And then we will have a note that comes up anytime that child checks out, just to remind them to check the spreadsheet if it's more than 1 or 2 titles, so that we can monitor that situation with it. But then we also have the availability, since we'll have it categorized, that we can notify classroom teachers too. Because the other thing we discussed is the way it was written is they were just restricted in the classroom library. But then it would be okay to take it from the class, leave the main library, go to their classroom library and get the book. And we felt the parental input was basically they didn't want them to read it. So we've changed that a little bit so that it covers both ways. And we will be able to track from our point on the library. We track every book that's been taken out. So if the child would accidentally get the book home, we would know, was it accidentally checked out or checked out by another student or taken without being checked out? So we have some checks and balances in place by doing those things on the policy. The only other thing that we did change, and part of that is because of state law that changed, in our policy for the reconsideration of instructional library materials on page 2 of 3, under where it says the reconsideration committee. State law has changed. You are no longer allowed to have high school members on any reconsideration committees. That has been vetoed. So we had to strike that, which would have been number 5. And we wanted to keep an odd number of people on the committee so that you wouldn't have stalemate when we had votes and those things. So we changed the first one to 2 licensed members designated annually. And then under 4, we just changed that the 3 members of the community would be appointed by the director of curriculum. And then we just felt that those things kind of tighten up our policy, especially as we've had changes in state laws, that it just gives us a little bit higher level of security for us.
So really, what I want you to keep in mind is that there's 2 separate policies here. That the one tonight is just talking about what's our process if a parent isn't happy or doesn't like a book that their child brings home. This is the process. Then there's a committee, the committee reads the book, they have discussion around it, and then the committee will come back and say whether we agree or disagree based on that. The other one you're hearing a lot about in the news these days is this idea of the new legislation that went through about the phrase that you hear on the news is banned books. That's not this. This is our policy on how it relates to books that currently we have on our shelves. All right. Now, the other policy doesn't go into effect. The one about the words they use, which are not my favorite words, are banned books. That policy doesn't go into place until January. So we're still working on that, and we'll be bringing more information to you about that in December of what that looks like for us at Gilbert. And I don't know, the one other thing to prepare, we're just starting some steps with not only with that new one that came through with legislation, but it ties to this one is the work that Lynn did this summer, is inventorying all of our books, not only in our libraries, in our main libraries, but in our classroom libraries. So because the work that Lynn did with within our buildings this summer, we now have inventory of pretty much every book that's in the classroom libraries and in our main libraries. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Lynn? Okay.
And that's all schools.
Yes.
All 4 buildings.
All 4
Okay.
buildings.
Is that online somewhere, or that's just something that we have?
It's not yet.
Okay.
It's something that we have now, and then we'll take a look at the new legislation and decide what that looks like for us moving forward with the new legislation. But this policy has already been in place, has already been utilized, but we just tightened it up based on the feedback and then based on the things that Lynn already shared. we have, just for your information, had one book in the last 3 years ago, go through this process. And where a parent was concerned, they filled out the form and the committee did the work related to that. So far, we've only had one, but that's in the last few years ago, maybe a couple of years ago. And then, so that's where we are today with this policy.
So is this public information, Christine, if I would be a parent and want to come in and say, I don't want my child to, you know, if I think this is wrong. Does that parent and the rest of the school know about the whole process and the outcome? Or is this just kept quiet between
Well, it's a board, it'll be a board policy. So if a parent called Lynn, for example, and said, oh, I'm not comfortable with this book, or they called the classroom teacher, then that's what we would do, is share with them and say, we have a policy in place, this is what you need to fill out. And then, you know, walk them through the process so they know what that would look like. So we would keep that open to let people know what that looks like. And then as we move forward to the legislation that is different than this policy, but that's coming up for January, there'll be some very specific, there's some very specific things in the law that we will have to follow. And that list will be, you know, made public as we know what that looks like. We're waiting a little bit on that piece. We haven't had any guidance from the Department of Ed. And we're waiting a little bit. They keep saying they might be giving us some guidance, but they haven't yet. So that's where we are on that.
is anybody challenging this with the First Amendment? Is anybody doing any of it? Do you know that?
Right now, a lot of test cases are going on in Florida.
Okay.
They have similar legislation there, and there are several authors and several publishers that are trying to overturn the laws there. There have been a couple cases going to trial in Texas that they're trying to overturn there too. So I know they rate the states, and we're like state number 4 for having laws like this. So I think right now they're going after the ones who enacted them first to see what they can do about those. And, you know, they're trying to go with ALA, the American Library Association, the right to read and the Bill of Rights to read is one of the things that everybody's asking. You know, if we're taking books out and those things, then we're denying some people the right to read things that they would want to read. So we're waiting to see how those turn out. But I am engaged with the Iowa School Libraries Association and the Iowa Library Association. We keep in contact, just kind of what other schools are doing and what we can do to support each other as we go through this.
It might be such a thing though, as long as we take money from the state, we're gonna have to play by their rules.
And that's why I think we're waiting on the Department of Ed.
Right.
to Get some direction.
That'd be the only thing. I think it sucks, to be honest with you. I think the First Amendment is it's a constitutional right to read book.
That's why we did this catalog of all of our books. So we had, I mean, obviously we had a catalog of our library books. But we did feel that having all of our classroom libraries, some of those library books, our classroom library books were books that have been purchased by the district, and some of those were books that were, you know, as a classroom teacher, you have, you know, you are supplementing that with your own things that you're purchasing your own dollars. So all of those are cataloged, and no, those are not on a public website at this point right now, and they don't have to be at this point. All of our library books are on our website. So we're waiting for guidance on right now. The guidance says we do not have to have classroom libraries public notice, but we have that in case there's like if a parent challenges a book, then we know where those books are located, and it's very easy for us to say, okay, we know where these books are. And so we feel that, you know, we're happy that we're ahead of the curve on that. And we probably should have had that done earlier anyway. And, you know, I think that should have been done
That's a good
well.
point.
So I feel better about
Yeah.
that. I agree with you. I feel that there's conversations we're having around books right now that are a little bit uncomfortable in my eyes. You know, who am I to say who should or shouldn't read something? But we also have to follow the law. And there is some pretty strict rules on come January 1st of 2024 if you do not follow this law the way it's written, and what happens to your license. And so I think that's where we're coming from, but we are looking for that guidance. And so we're treading lightly, but right now we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing when it comes to those things.
Tyler, go.
So the policy you have up, Gail, I mean, if you scroll down just a little bit, you've already got in there, it looks like 7 different criteria. I mean, that's the basis for what our decisions are today.
Correct.
And then what you're saying is those will be tightened up hopefully with the new law, especially the one that's highlighted.
Yes, the law focuses pretty clearly about section F there, but we're gonna bring that'll be a whole agenda item for us to bring to all of you to share that, because it will be a big topic. And then what's the definition behind that, related to what's in the legislation? And then what does it mean for us as it relates to our library? So that will be coming, that particular piece, to make sure we're following the law before the January date that's required.
Thanks for all your work.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lynn. A big thank you to Lynn and Carrie, because it's been a lot of work, so thank you.
Well, we use a lot of time in the summer. Yeah, well,
How many books do we have? I mean, is it even a number that do you have?
You're in your school libraries or your classroom libraries?
Yes.
Okay, that's right. Classroom libraries, K-12, preschool through 12th grade, not all teachers have them. It's a little over 55,000. And that's not. all
Doesn't
different
include-
titles.
Yeah.
Each of your libraries, they range anywhere between 9,000 to about 10,000 books. And we're building on there, we're trying to take out things that aren't being read and updating those so that they continue to be collections that are circulating. We've added books in foreign languages because we've had so many students that are coming in, so we have South Korean books now, we have books in Spanish, we have books in French, we have books in Ukrainian. So we're always trying to update those and bring changes about.
Do kids still have to learn how to use a card catalog?
The card catalog now is digital, so they all use it, that's the way they access the collection.
All right.
But in all the other buildings, in the intermediate, middle school and high school, kids can look at the card catalog in their classroom and actually put books on hold from their classroom. They've got their own accounts into it. So it makes it easier if the teacher says you have to have a book, they can find it, search it, and put it on hold, and then the libraries get the messages.
I want to be able to Google it and have you walk right to it.
Yeah.
Walk right to the book.
Maybe we could, in our retirement, we can do a historical.
They have no idea what it took to get a book. Oh, yeah.
I never understood.
Dewey Decimal System.
Never understood it.
Oh,
It's fantastic.
Lynn, Carrie, thank you. very
thanks,
much.
you guys.
Anything else on that? We're missing, moving along. Board reports, we have the 2023 school board elections on November 7th. Coming up, again, candidates can pick up their forms as of August 28th. They have to be turned in by Thursday, September 21st. You can pick them up in the district office, come go see Gail. And again, they are due. Yep, Thursday, September 21st by 5 p.m. We have three 4-year terms, myself, Tyler and Jeff that are coming up, and then we have 1 2-year term, which is Melissa's, since she was appointed. So we have 4 open seats coming available for the elections. If you are interested in running, highly recommend you put the dates of November 15th through November 17th on your calendar. It is the 78th annual IASB convention, and it is a good crash course in Iowa school boards and kind of how they function. So I've attended 5, I think now. Tyler, how many of you attended?
Well, 12.
Well, it's a good way to connect with other school board members, other superintendents, and just kind of get a feel for what's going on around the state. So again, November 15th and 17th, highly recommend putting that on your calendars. Next topic, election of AEA board members. If we have anyone interested on the board who wants to be on the AEA board, let myself, Gail, Christine know, and we'll get you signed up. moving along. Facilities reports, consider approval of the agreement between the owner and construction manager as advisor with De Novo LLC. Before I take a motion on that, I want to make one quick update. Article 2, section 8.1, there was an error in the insurance requirements. Instead of 2 million, it should read 6 million. And I met with Patrick on that and got that updated. It just was missed on the in the reports here. So again, Article 2, section 8.1, instead of 2 million per occurrence limits, it should read 6 million per occurrence. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Yep.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Do we have CMBA on? No?
You do not, but I have an update.
Perfect.
Already. But before I get to the update, Jason, do you have the slide from the latest for the elementary building? I think I shared it in an email with you earlier. Oh, yeah, well, I'll talk while you look for it. So, okay, so let me give an update of where we are. I believe I emailed all of you, but I wanted to just give us a minute here to talk about it. So if you recall at our last meeting, we were looking at purchasing land to the west of the elementary building. And so that we could place that elementary building in the spot where the soccer fields are and purchasing that land from the city. Well, since that time, a couple things have happened. One is that the survey came back saying that moving that water line and sewer line that exists there could prove to be very expensive and costly, and we're not sure, that we wanted to go down that road. In addition to that, the CMBA met with the elementary staff and talked about what do we want learning to look like in that building? What do we want the configuration to look like of the building? And what the teachers and staff shared was this idea that it was what I would call pod learning, meaning you have kind of a central area of a pod where you would have common area, and then you would have grade levels around that. So all of the first grade would be together and all the kinder would be together. Thank you, Jason. And so through those two conversations, what came through with the building committee, we've been working with the building committee, is a new configuration for the elementary building. This is still in a similar location, so it's still within the neighborhood that everyone feels good about. It would not take away the soccer fields. If you remember, those were up to the left. And you can see here from this map that you have in front of you, this configuration would be just to the south of where the building currently is. If you see on that map up there where it says existing, it's right next to where kind of the little buses are going through. That would be a new parking lot for parents, and that would go where the current building is now. So once the new elementary is built, then the current elementary would be torn down and that parking lot would be put there. So that's what that means by existing. The question that I continue to get is, will Slide Mountain remain? The answer is yes, Slide Mountain will remain. You can see we put it on the map. What do we lose by adding the elementary there? We lose a few portables, which currently holds Kids Club and some storage. We'll find a new place for Kids Club. We can do that. It's an important program, important partnership. And storage, we could probably get rid of some of those things. Brent will help me do that, right, Brent? Along with finding other places for things that are there. But this configuration also does land on what's known as Field 3 for this city. And what I understand, it's the most underutilized field because it's often wet and not the greatest field. So I talked to Gilbert Youth Sports about that. So they are aware that that would happen. And they seem to be, of course, we never want to lose a field, but adding a new elementary, I think it's a pretty fair there. That should work itself out. There's still, I think, 3 or 4 fields, not in that picture, but south there that they would still have to utilize. The parking lot does allow for us to have the buses separate from the parent drop-off, which is a safety piece. And then it allows access for parents to come right in there and get what they need done on the front half of the building. So So this is the new configuration. It is all our land, so it does not require us to purchase land. And I would be happy to answer any questions that we have. We're still meeting every other Thursday with CMBA and the building committee, and that seems to be going well. And then any other questions that anybody has?
You mentioned, I mean, that field there is pretty low, so I assume that means we're gonna have to bring in some dirt. I
Correct.
mean, that was all, I mean, no issues with that at all.
No, in our last building meeting, CMBA turned to Bolton Winkler on the call and they were like, hey, are we, making sure we're checking that out and making sure we're adjusting for that. So that will be part of the conversation as well. I couldn't figure out what that sound was. It's outside. I was thinking my phone or yes, there's like forest music in my head. I don't know. Anyway, it's the instruments that are outside.
And I know we're building it for 7 sections, which is 2 more than what we have right now, but. In the layout for this, will there be opportunity to continue to expand or how
Yes.
is that being considered?
Yes, we are talking about how could it expand from here. This particular model, based on what I was told by CMBA the last time, is that it adds 25,000 square feet to the current structure. More space, so it has those classrooms, and then it should allow for us in the future to build from there. Yes, and I did, just so everyone is aware, I think you guys all know, but I did share the new plan with the city, which is Vic is over, the city council meeting is this evening. I would have attended otherwise. But shared with them that we no longer have the intent of purchasing their land there because of the 2 changes, this changed the modification related to what we needed.
Any other questions for Christine?
Say I'm happy would be an understatement.
Jeff's happy. We're all happy.
Very nice job.
Thank you.
Any questions at all?
No.
All right. Christine, thank you very, very much. When is the next facility meeting then scheduled for?
Not this Thursday, a week from this Thursday is our next one. And so that committee has been really great. The other thing too, just so you're aware, is that every Friday I've been getting, and I'll be happy to share those with all of you. A report from Patrick Davis. Every Friday he sends me, here's what we're working on. It's all color coded about here's what you need to do in the next few days. Here's what we're doing in the next few days. And here's what needs to happen in the next few weeks. And so it's, he's very organized and does a great job communicating. Anytime something has popped up, I reach back out to him. He works with CMBA to make that happen. And that seems to be going very well.
Good, thank you very much. Old business, we've got the second reading of revised new board policies after 2023 legislative updates per IASB recommendations with possible action to waive the 3rd reading and approval. And again, this is the one we just discussed at 605. Policy 605 was the library policy that was just discussed. There are several other ones in there as well. Any other ones you want to point out here, Christine?
No, the only other, I'm trying to see, just 1 second. Oh, no, there it is. Okay, 605, yes. The only other thing is just things that we already know about student health services, that if parents need to make sure we're communicating with our nursing staff, which is not new, it's just updated, so that's an important one. Making sure, as I talked about before, with if students want to be represented by a different name, we're making sure that parents are aware of that, and that, or if parents want a child to go by a different name, parents need to communicate that with the office, and there's a form to fill out. So it's just making sure that we're doing our best in communicating both ways. So
I did have a question on the graduation requirements. I don't know if you can scroll to 505.05. And it's regarding, it looks like the financial literacy has been stricken and health. And then down below for the core diploma, financial literacy is still in there.
well, I will tell you, and Carrie can probably speak to this. So it's not required the way they have it in there. But we currently have financial literacy in our program, and actually we have a community member that helped bring that to our schools, and we want to continue doing that at this point. It is continued to be a part of our program. I don't know, Carrie, if you have more to say about that.
Yes, what the state actually has changed that. We are required to offer it. It does not have to be part of our, as a graduation requirement. We have kept it as part of our, as a requirement, but just not part of the core.
Okay, so it's still required, but it's not part of the core.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that the only one we require over the state?
I think we have a few, I have to go back and look just off the top of my head, Jeff. But
You got two.
we just felt we didn't wanna, we just felt we didn't wanna take it off. There's our-
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
off of that.
Yeah.
Now, we have, there are some students that we might, depending on what their schedule looks like, that we might make an exception for, but. It's gonna be very limited
Okay.
on that exception.
So all kids have to take it. They have to take.
The financial literacy.
That's
Okay.
correct.
That's what. If you get that way.
No, I just think it's important.
Yes.
This day
And we
age.
said that too, we said even though the state changed that, we didn't, feel we should change.
Right.
Now they're worried about our books.
Oh, they got no to worry about health too, Jeff.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't do the health, but
No.
financial literacy is so critical.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and I will say, Tyler, we've had such a nice partnership, really, that kind of came forward last year.
Right.
With one of our community members.
Yep.
And that has worked really well, and
Good.
congratulations or thank you to Carrie Clark and the high school team of getting that implemented and getting it going, and I also would agree with you, I don't want to see that go away, so. Yes, and Carter, maybe you have a,
Yeah, Carter.
Well, I did take the financial literacy class. It was good. I learned a lot.
Who
and,
teaches that course here?
Vicky Hale.
Oh, nice.
So,
Did you take the actual financial ed class
yeah,
or take it through a different way to get?
I
that
took
credit?
it through Gilbert, and I also took, there's another class, it's the ag business class.
Yeah.
It's through DMAC, but taught at the high school. And that also counts as a financial literacy credit.
and would you recommend it for others, Carter?
I would.
Good answer, Carter.
Good job, Carter.
They're not sloths down here. It's like busy day.
Got a lot of books to read.
Yeah.
Good. No, thank you for pointing that out, Tyler. I didn't even catch that, but. Yeah, that's, I'm glad to hear it's still a requirement, or it's still taken by all students, because I do believe it's important as well. Do I have a motion to approve the second reading and waive the third reading for the policies listed below?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Where was this? I'm sorry.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Moving along, we are third reading of revised new board policies after 2023 legislative updates per ISD recommendations. Again, policies 505.04 and the new one is 402.05, and I guess there's a bunch more there too. Any comments on those at all, Christine? I know we discussed them last meeting, I believe.
Yes, and that's the one I was just mentioning. I should have looked at that there for the third read, is that the idea of student identity is that if students came forward and wanted a different name, we have to make sure that parents are aware. That they sign off on that they have meetings, and both ways, if parents want their student called by a different name, they're notifying the school as well. So that's a big piece that's in there. And then making sure the other piece is a policy that we can now stock medications that may be needed for life-threatening situations. And so, and our Laura Metzger has said she would, take whatever needs to have, whatever class or whatever you have to have those in our nursing offices. Hopefully we never have to use them, but they would be available.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I motion.
Or
Second.
second,
Second.
Tyler, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next one, consider approval of the 23-24 district priorities. Again, you'll see a copy of those 3 priorities in your folder. Any comments, Christine, on the priorities? And we discussed them last meeting.
Yeah,
again.
I shared them with you last meeting. We just didn't have an approval on them. I wanted to make sure that you had time to ask any questions, and I would recommend approval, but it's up to you.
We have a motion to approve.
Yep.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? District priorities passes. All right, next item, petition requesting an election be called on the issuance of bonds in an amount not to exceed $35 million to provide funds to construct, build, furnish, and equip a new elementary building and improve the site, construct, build, furnish, and equip additions to the high school, intermediate school, and middle school, including but not limited to a secure entrance, buildings and related remodeling, repair and improve the high school, intermediate school, and middle school buildings, and relocate the track from the intermediate school site to the middle school site, has been filed on August 29th of 2023. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution ordering the election of the issuance of the $35 million general obligation school bond?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And we have a roll call vote.
Josh and Patton. Tyler,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yep.
Melissa,
Yep.
and Andrew.
Yes. Financial updates, Gail.
Not much activity yet, but I do want to, the revenue compared to last year, August of 22, we're about $24,000 less compared to a year ago, and expenditures were up about 67 on actuals. Again, the line item budget will be in the system around October after we do our September payroll. We'll get since salaries and benefits are about 87 to 90% of the budget. We put those in after the first payroll in September, and then we have that big number of our total expenditures that we like to stay with, and then we see what's left for the other expenditures. So that's where we start. So we'll get that in October. And I did want to, if you would turn to page, it's called the Secretary's Report. I just want to review the cash flow, basically. We are probably at the lowest point of our cash flow right now, but September is when our 2 biggest revenue sources arrive. We have state aid beginning in September, and then our property taxes will start arriving in September. So as you can see, we're okay because I have invested as much as we can to get, we were at about 5%. So like for example, the general fund, it shows that we were negative 246, but this is the whole general fund. We have different pots in there, and then we also have 2 million in a higher percent. So we're okay, but I just wanted to show, yeah, this is probably the lowest time of our cash flow. Not a concern, but we'll start getting the revenue streams in starting September. Other than that, I don't have anything else. We are starting to review, I do have my financial reports done and sent to the Department of Ed. So now we'll start, I'll have the actual final financial reports in October of where we actually ended. And I did send them off to Travis. He said I'd take a look at them and make sure we have the updates and get where where we ended, where our target was. So that'll be exciting stuff in October.
Financials are always exciting, Gail. So you're around.
And Gail, I know we skipped it in celebrations, but do you want to tell us your celebration?
Oh, well, this afternoon I had my 10th grandbaby.
Congratulations.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So we were 10 outnumbered. We have 7 boys and 3 girls.
Wow. Oh, Christmas gets expensive now.
There are 10 of them.
Yeah, that's
Great.
awesome.
It's fun, it's a lot of fun.
Congratulations, Gail. Any questions for Gail on the finances?
Yeah, I've got a question, Andrew, and I don't know the answer.
Well, I don't know it either. Ask Gail.
If some of the stuff like on the Pebble report, we purchase a lot of different things, and then we have these. We have like the foundation, and then we have other things that raise money. What determines where, if we use the school's money or if it comes out of the foundation pot, or how's that determined?
I'm going, I,
Foundation, there's a request.
Yeah, but
budget, I assume budget is a big play in that, whether it's in the budget or outside of the budget. But I mean, I don't know in regards to what the foundation pays for versus what the school pays for, is kind of.
So I will tell you, as far as the foundation is concerned, Carrie Clark and I sit on that as representatives, if you will. And the foundation typically comes to us and says, you know, what are the things that we're doing to support the school that you'd like us to continue?
Okay.
The example I'll use is they do mini grants. The teachers apply for things that they want to do this project, they want to do a butterfly garden, they want to, something along those lines. In the area of supplies, which is interesting because as you're going to see probably in the upcoming budget reports that we have, our supplies that continue to go up in cost, and that's going to be a challenge and continue to be. That's why that piece is really important for the work that the foundation does around that. Maybe they want books for a special thing that they're doing, or they want to order, I don't know, we had ant farms or things like that. I mean, I was just, those are the things I can think of off the top of my head. That runs around, I think, $6,000 or $8,000, maybe, Carrie, do I have that, or is it 15? I can't remember. 15, okay.
Yeah.
So they support the school classrooms with about 15,000 on that piece. Then they ask for what's our big ask when we're thinking about like their fundraiser. And the last year it was around mental health and supporting mental wellness, if you will. One through training, one adding related to the counseling staff, things like that. So it really comes from what do they see as the need and what we're asking for. One thing, for example, they had said they thought maybe they would support us on is the idea of some outdoor learning space. But because we knew that perhaps a bond would be coming up, we weren't ready to put that together, but it is something we could consider going back to them. That's an example of the foundation. Now, how that relates to boosters, our athletic boosters and our fine arts boosters, I don't sit on those, so I'm not 100% how I would imagine same thing. They have their priorities and they put that forward. So that's one piece of it. As it relates to Pebble and things, often that comes to Gail and I having conversations and really Brent bringing it forward and saying, here's something that we need. And then we talk about, let's go back to that plan that De Novo put together for us. Where does it fall on our plan? Is it something we would like to have? Or is it something that we really need? And I'm going to be vulnerable here for a minute and give an example. Like the electronic, I'm not going to say it correctly, painter item that Brent really wants me to look at is pretty expensive, but I'm not there yet on as a need. It is something that would be really nice to help the work that he does, but I'm not sure we're there. But maybe last year when we might not be the right fund, but last year when we looked at a project, whether it's vehicles or something that's a need, like, oh, we really got to do this, then we have that conversation. Is it in the budget? Has it been prioritized? And then where does it fall? Sometimes then it might be, is it an emergency, which I don't really want to call it that, but an urgent situation, things just happen and then we got to figure out how to take care of them. So those are the processes. I don't know if Gail or Brent, if you want to.
And just remember that like we have different buckets of money.
Right.
And so they fund like supplies would definitely be the foundation would be supplies would be in the general fund. You know, Pebble is equipment and big ticket items, projects, you know, something. There's also funding in the activity fund, where they would fund maybe classroom, you know, maybe it's drama. We also get help from the fine arts boosters that run through. So we have different, and in determining what the item is and what it's for will determine where the expense and revenue goes into, what category or what bucket
But how do all these pieces talk to each other?
So it's all through account codes. Like for me, in the accounting department, so first it starts with a request. Whether the staff member or a teacher has a request, they complete it and it's approved. Once it's approved, they complete a purchase order, which I have specific account codes tracked for those funds like foundation, fine arts boosters. And so then every quarter, I submit a bill, an invoice of all the copies of all the invoices, and then those different, groups and organizations reimburse me for those expenses. So we have the expenses, and then every quarter we get reimbursed for those expenses, and it's all tracked through accounting.
So you decide. This isn't gonna sound right, but you decide what is submitted to the boosters versus what comes out of the Pebble silo.
No, they approach the boosters. I mean, the boosters lays out.
See what I'm trying to figure out? I'm trying to-
Yeah.
Well, let me,
The booster doesn't do very much. Boosters every year, when I was least on it, they pretty much just said, we're gonna budget $15,000 for you guys, just for the staff. You gotta put a grant in and we'll pay for it.
Okay,
That's really all they're doing. Everything else is really big ticket items that they have kind of, hey, we want to do this for this.
Build the shed out by the new baseball.
Okay.
Yeah, so they kind of just go and target.
Oh,
You're talking about athletic boosters and foundations.
but I will say,
Grant,
that
yeah.
one thing you need to know, that Mindy Rash is the president of the foundation. And one of the things that she has brought to the table, which I think is a really terrific idea, and I think she called it the big five or something along those lines of, why not bring all those groups together, meaning the PTO, the boosters, the fine arts, the foundation, and then I think there was one more that I can't think of. After prom, that was after prom, you're right, thank you. Why not bring all those groups together and say, okay, for a couple of reasons. One is, if we're all fundraising, are we doing it all at the same time, or are we staggering that? I think they're pretty mindful of that. But also then, how are we spending our monies, or is there a way we can collectively? And the example that came up is last spring, the fine arts boosters and the music department said we need $60,000 for risers and shells, band shells, to help with the music sound. And they didn't have that themselves, but they reached out to the foundation, and they reached out, I think, to the PTO, really brilliant to do that. And everybody came together and then we contributed some funds as well, as far as through our buckets that we could. And then through that, they were able to come up with that $60,000, and we were able to order those risers and shells.
Right.
They'll be this year. So that was a really good example of the power of all of us working together.
that's good, that's what's going on.
Yeah, so they're talking about doing that. I'm not sure that's happened yet, but that is something that she's put out as a priority for them to do.
If you don't mind, if I'm allowed to talk, I'm the president of the Fine Arts Research. So that meeting did happen in August. I was out of town, but Mindy did meet with, and I sent a representative from our organization. I think one group ended up not participating, just had a conflict. So I think the intention is to do that annually. Just to make sure we're communicating about priorities and all of that, because that we haven't done a good job of that. And so I think it's will benefit everybody if we keep it a little better connected. So
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. Otherwise I would have called on you earlier.
Any other questions for Gail?
Thank you, guys.
Moving along, consent agenda. Anything need to be pulled, discussed? And if not, I will take a motion to approve.
Yep.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes. Next regular board meeting is October 9th, same time and place, right here. Election day is November 7th, and then November 13th will be our regular board meeting. With December 11th being the current board, November 13th, that's gonna be the last board meeting of this board, and then the new board will start December 11th. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
We
Good.
will canvas, I believe the Troy County, is it, well, they canvas the votes, and they approve the votes, but that's the end of November. And so we have to hold our annual organizational meeting after that, so that's by the way.
Yep. Perfect. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Okay.
All those in favor?
I.
Opposed?